Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm Anna Schneider with NASA's Communications, and today I am joined by the crew of NASA's SpaceX Crew-13 mission. Crew-13 includes NASA astronauts Jessica Watkins and Luke Delaney, serving as commander and pilot respectively, and serving as mission specialists are Canadian Space Agency astronaut Josh Kutrick and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Tereryatnikov. We will begin with some opening remarks from the crew before opening it up for questions both here in the room as well as on our phone bridge. For those of you who are joining us on the phone, you can press *1 to enter the queue to ask a question. And if your question has been answered, you can press *2 to remove yourself from the queue. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Jessica.
Great, thank you, Anna. We are super excited to be here today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your interest in and support of our mission to the International Space Station. I am honored to serve as the commander for Crew-13 alongside Luke, Josh, and Sergei, and we are really looking forward to this mission. We are looking forward to return. I personally am looking forward to returning to the ISS as well as flying on Dragon a second time. And really looking forward to experiencing those experiences through the eyes of my crewmates. We will be joining Expedition 75, already in progress on board the International Space Station, already doing amazing work. We'll be contributing to that as well, taking the baton from Crew 12 and continuing to participate in our continuous human presence on ISS. We, as you probably have heard in the previous briefing, we expect a very busy mission with lots of station maintenance, both internal and external, with a few EVAs on the docket that Luke will talk a bit more about, as well as visiting vehicle capture and stowage operations, lots of science, very interesting science experiments that will be flying with us as well, and plenty of outreach. We are certainly grateful for the opportunity to both represent and to serve our communities, colleagues, and countries. So we are really grateful for this experience and looking forward to hearing your questions today.
Thanks, Jessica. And so we got a lot going on, as Jessica had mentioned. There's science across the board on the human level. We'll be looking to help characterize some blood flow in a microgravity environment, also fluid shift and how that impacts vision. We'll have those studies going on. And outside of that, we'll be looking to characterize stem cells, so some stem cell growth studies will be going on with plants as well. So we're looking for developing plant habitats potentially aboard station, throughout station if we desire, but also in a sustainable habitat that'll be up there as well. As you might expect, equally exciting, or perhaps even more exciting in some ways, is the spacewalking aspect. So we're looking at a handful of those potentially to upgrade station power requirements, and also looking to get AMS, at least the preparation steps together, to get AMS upgraded for future operations. So for me, between the science, the spacewalks, and everything else that the expedition's going to have, it's looking to be a great time. I'm excited to launch with this crew, join the expedition, and integrate as an extension of NASA and all the ISS team members. So exciting times ahead.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, I think for me, I would just spend a few minutes here to talk about the enormous sense of gratitude that the four of us feel for everyone who has gone into making this mission possible. You know, personally, myself, I grew up on a cattle farm in Canada. It's a long way from being here with this mission in front of us. But the one thing that has resonated at every twist and turn in that journey has been the complexity of these missions, and because of that, the enormity of the teams that go into pulling missions like this off. So we need to say thank you to everyone. We feel that gratitude for the teams here at NASA, Johnson Space Center, across the different NASA centers, our partners in government and in industry and in academia, the science teams, our partner agencies, the Canadian Space Agency, our friends at SpaceX, and probably many who I'm missing. But sincerely, thank you. We feel very lucky to be the four people climbing onto this rocket to launch. But when we do so, we definitely do so feeling that gratitude and trying as best we can to take with us the aspirations and the enthusiasms of all those teams, thousands of people. On the nature of gratitude, 2026, I think, is a big year for human spaceflight. It's an important one, certainly here at NASA, certainly for us in Canada. It's our second crewed mission this year after Artemis II. And I think that speaks to the interest and investment we're seeing in space. I think it speaks to why we do spaceflight, which is because of future opportunity. And, you know, that also makes me want to say thanks. I'm grateful for Canada for contributing to missions like this, but I'm grateful for the United States. I'm grateful for NASA for leading so boldly as we go into this new era of exploration. It's really important. The timing has maybe never been more important. Pour mes amis au Canada, je dirais que il n'y a jamais eu un meilleur moment pour participer à l'exploration spatiale. So thank you to everyone. We're looking forward to getting on board, getting the job done, and probably having some fun, I hope, as well.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, guys. Good afternoon. I am sorry, I will use Russian language, for me more comfortable. Меня зовут Сергей, я космонавт Роскосмоса, готовлюсь к своему первому полету в составе миссии МКС-75, в составе экипажа Crew-13. Так же, как и Джошуа, я хотел бы выразить огромную благодарность представителям Роскосмоса, инструкторам и преподавателям Центра подготовки космонавтов. Непосредственно сейчас я прохожу подготовку на территории Соединенных Штатов Америки, и хочется выразить благодарность персоналу НАСА, также компании SpaceX за предоставленную возможность и за то, что даете мне эти знания. Также я очень рад, что нахожусь в этом экипаже, взаимодействую со своими членами экипажа. Я думаю, успех нам обеспечен. Со своей стороны я приложу по максимуму усилий. Спасибо большое.
My name is Sergey, and I'm a cosmonaut of Roscosmos. This is going to be my first space flight. I'll be part of ISAX Expedition 75 and Crew-13. And on my part, I'd like to say big thank you to Roscosmos, to all the instructors at GTC, at NASA, at SpaceX, because right now I'm in the United States doing my training. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to fly to space, and thank you for giving me knowledge and skills to do it. And I'm also very grateful to be part of this crew, and I'm certain that we are going to have tremendous success. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will go ahead and open it up for questions both here in the room as well as on the phone bridge. For those in the room, if you just want to raise your hand if you have a question, and for those on the phone bridge, as a reminder, you can press *1 to enter the queue and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. We'll go ahead and start with Will.
Thank you. Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now. It's good to see you all here today. Thinking towards the mission, obviously it's a good opportunity to bring a little piece of home with you for your time in orbit. And so question for all four of you, what's a particularly important memento that you wanted to make sure that you put some stock in the amount of cargo space that you have available that you wanted to bring up to station? Thanks.
Well, I can start off. One of the most important things for me to bring along with me was something to be able to connect with my daughter. I have a 3-year-old back at home, and so finding mementos that we could kind of connect both with her on the ground and with me on orbit, as well as kind of that real time, in addition, kind of thinking about the future things that she can have to hold to look back on this time, and really just want to be able to inspire her, connect with her, but really kind of leave a legacy both for her and for her generation as they come up and start to find what it is that they are passionate about.
Yeah, definitely for me too. It's family-based. Just the mementos that each family member had chosen to kind of have sent up is important to me, and I think that really makes it meaningful. Just seeing that come together from everybody. The kids, it's always great to be able to fly something for them. So I'm excited to see. Well, I know what most of them are, but I guess what isn't known quite yet is we actually get care packages sent up, and we'll see what is included in those. And those I am not familiar with, so I'm interested to see what the family has put together for those.
Good question. Family-based as well. So I'll be taking an old pocket watch, so over 100 years old, because I need a watch to tell time, but also because it's always been in our family. So I'm a fourth-generation Ukrainian Canadian. That watch came over with the first generation when they just homesteaded the place where I grew up, and it somehow made it into my hands. But for me, it's really neat to look at that and reflect on just how much has changed in those 100 years, a little over 100 years, to where that watch began and to where it is now, getting loaded onto a Dragon spacecraft. I think that's just so neat, and it's really neat for me to look at it and think about, if that's how much changed in the last 100 years, how much more could change if we do things right in the next 100. So that's what I'll have on board.
All right.
Я взял с собой фотографии моей семьи, моих друзей и фотографии, которые будут напоминать мне о каких-то моментах в жизни. И также я взял в электронном виде книги, которые связаны с историей моей страны, местности, в которой я родился. И всеми мыслями я буду уходить, скажем так, в историю, читать, и мне это будет комфортно и напоминать о моей, скажем так, земле, родине и малой родине. Спасибо.
I'm going to take photos of my family, friends, and certain pictures that are going to remind me of certain events in my life. I'm also going to take books in electronic format, books that talk about the history of my country and of the place where I'm from. So I'm going to direct my thoughts to those events, to those times. Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Elizabeth in the room.
Elizabeth Howell from Canadian Geographic. This one's for Josh. I was wondering, I know that you're into a few sports. We're now into, when you go up in your mission, the hockey season. We got the Grey Cup that's going on. And so I was wondering, as a Canadian, if you could declare perhaps for a particular hockey team or say what kinds of activities you'll be doing up there to follow all of our sports teams. Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth. That's a neat question. I would, without hesitation, declare my support for the Edmonton Oilers. Yes. So close so many times now. You know, otherwise, sports are a big part of my life. I don't think I won't have no plans to play hockey. I do have plans to, on a serious basis, to work out and continue training a lot. Of course, that's a big part of all of our lives there as part of the mitigations against, you know, all the things that are going on with our bodies. But I'm also a fan of cycling, and so I do actually look forward to doing that on board. We have a bike. It's not like an Earth bike, but we have a bike, and I plan to spend a lot of time on it during the weekends, just like I do here on Earth. Thanks.
All right, we'll go over to Gina.
And Sari, for Jessica, during your first launch, you honored fellow astronaut and geologist Harrison Schmitt as your guest at that launch. Are you doing anything special for this launch? Any special guests who you're honoring?
Yes. So actually, I have invited Dr. Schmitt a second time to this launch as well. So hopefully he will be able to attend with his wife as well. And the other guest that I'm inviting this time is Dr. Frederick Gregory, who was the first African American to command a spacecraft. So hopefully he's able to attend as well.
All right, another question in the room on the back row.
Hi, yes, I'm Barbara Campos with Spectrum News. When people look back on Crew-13 5 or 10 years from now, what do you hope that they'll remember about it?
I think for me, when I think about, it's really kind of an interesting question, a question about legacy, and kind of what our footprint on the world of human spaceflight will be. And I think as part of this endeavor that we call the International Space Station, I really hope to, as I kind of said, be a baton holder. We talk about being good stewards of the station during our time on board, helping to maintain and ensure that the station's life can continue as long as we are able to continue to fund it, and really to place our mark in the sense that we are continuing the process. We are enabling the continuous presence of humans in low Earth orbit, and that in of itself, I think, is a legacy that is worth being a part of.
All right, another question from the back row.
Hi, Eli Glasser from CBC News from Canada. So this is a little selfish on my part. I'm interested in hearing from the rest of your crew, Joshua. I want to hear what you've learned about Joshua. What surprises you about Joshua, or maybe what you've learned about, country where he comes from. Thank you.
I don't know if this is a surprise, but Josh is, is a really quiet but competent human. You can always rely on him. He's there to support anytime you need it. We leverage him pretty much daily in training for different operations. He's got a depth of skill sets when it comes to solving problems and communicating. So I don't think that's surprising probably to anybody. Maybe not surprising either, but I particularly am interested in his ranch or property up in Canada. It sounds like he's got a really nice spot up there, and I appreciate the outdoors. So that may not be surprising either, but those are things that when I think about Josh, those come to mind pretty quick.
Thanks. Thank you for not saying the bad things.
There are none.
All right, we'll take another question here in the room.
Hello, my name is Kevin Crane. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I work for our French network, TVA. Joshua, my question is in French. Okay. J'aimerais savoir quel est ton sentiment de fierté pour représenter ton pays, mais aussi qu'est-ce que tu vas faire concrètement dans cette mission?
Ouais. Bonne question, grande question. Sur le premier point, oui, je dis souvent que j'ai un sens de fierté d'être un astronaute, de porter la chemise bleue, mais aussi également de faire le travail comme un astronaute canadien. Ça, c'est une chose tellement importante pour moi, pour le pays du Canada, pour nos maisons. Pour cette question, c'est important à dire, je pense que au Canada, nous avons les vols spatiaux comme ça, pas souvent. Et le dernier vol de longue durée à la Station spatiale internationale était David-Saint-Jacques du Québec, mais ça c'était en 2018. Donc pour moi, c'est une mission incroyable. J'ai hâte de participer à la mission, oui, de faire toute la science, tout ça, toutes les opérations. Mais comme Canadien, je dirais aussi que c'est une chose importante pour le pays, pour le Canada. Et j'espère que nous pouvons continuer de faire des missions comme ça plus souvent à l'avenir. Pour la deuxième partie de ta question, pour moi, je pense de deux choses. Pour mon travail à bord de la station spatiale. Premièrement, les opérations techniques sur la station, les sorties dans l'espace, tout l'entretien, la maintenance, tout ça, pour être certain que nous pouvons continuer d'utiliser la station spatiale comme une communauté internationale. Deuxièmement, c'est la science. La station spatiale, c'est un laboratoire flottant, on dit, en orbite basse, et c'est une place où on peut faire de la science qu'on ne peut pas faire ici sur Terre. La science qui est liée à l'exploration spatiale, oui, mais aussi la science qui est liée à des problèmes ici sur Terre, comme avec la santé, par exemple. Donc, ça, c'est les deux choses, les opérations, la science. Merci.
All right, we are now going to toss it over to the Canadian Space Agency headquarters for some media questions there.
Hi, I'm Jean-Philippe Hughes from Radio Canada and CBC News. Je vais poser ma question en français à Josh Kutrick. Vous avez un grand voyage qui vous attend dans l'espace, mais je crois qu'aussi votre famille attend un autre grand voyage en même temps que celui dans l'espace. Comment est-ce que ça va fonctionner, ces étapes-là, quand on sera en contact? Est-ce que vous prévoyez prendre un congé parental, par exemple?
Oui, vous avez raison. Merci beaucoup pour la question. C'est vrai que moi, je suis prêt maintenant pour faire cette expédition, cette mission, mais vous avez raison que ma famille est en train de préparer pour une autre aventure avec un autre enfant. Pour moi, c'est une chose tellement bonne. Moi, comme famille, avec Heather, nous sommes très contents. Nous avons beaucoup d'enthousiasme pour les prochains 6-7 mois. Il y aura, bien sûr, les défis avec tout ça, mais pour moi, les défis, c'est juste une partie de la vie et j'ai hâte de gérer ces défis aussi et de vivre pendant cette expérience unique avec ma famille. And I feel bad. I was supposed to. I mean to say what we're talking about, but he's asking about my family. And yes, we're expecting a newborn when I'm in space. So that's not totally new. It's been done a couple times before. I was saying I love challenge, and there certainly is challenge associated with this one. But I'm looking forward actually to managing that. I mean, I've always enjoyed challenge. I think that my family is ready. I have a wonderful, huge support network from my wife outwards around us. And we're looking forward to that challenge and to the uniqueness of this experience. But thank you for the question.
Hi, Erica Morris from the Canadian Press. I was hoping that you could walk us through some of the Canadian-led experiments that you'll be conducting and how those might help people back on Earth.
Is that a question for me? Yeah. And that's a serious question because there is a lot of Canadian experiments being done. There's experiments from all over the world being done. And it should be pointed out that I'm not the only one who does the Canadian experiments. They're not the only ones who do the U.S. experiments. We really share that load. But I'll happily, there's too many to talk about in one answer here. The experiments that I want to point out, though, are the ones that have an impact on people on Earth. So we do a lot of work, and there's a lot of Canadian-sponsored science that's related to solving problems that we have to solve for our next steps in outer space, and those are really important. But there's also a lot of science that's not related to space. So Canada has experiments such as CardioBreath that's studying degrades to our cardiorespiratory system. We have an experiment called AstroFit, which studies how to monitor a human being remotely. These are two examples, but they have some commonalities. What they're doing at a basic level is they're using the space environment and my body as the sample case to study problems that all humans eventually encounter here on Earth. So when we're in space, it's not really good for the astronaut because of the radiation, the microgravity, all these reasons. My body will just be aging quickly. So not good for me, I have to manage that. But if you take experiments like CardioBreath, like AstroFit, there's other one, T-bone studies, osteoporosis, you can do medical studies in science, in space, that we can do in a very efficient way because we have aging happening and fast forward. So at the basic level, that's what we're doing with experiments like that, T-bone, AstroFit, CardioBreath, there's many others, but we're looking for solutions to medical problems that we have here on Earth, and we're just using the space environment to do it.
All right, we are going to go over to our phone bridge. We have Jonathan Seri with Fox News.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. This is for the entire crew. Tell us about the training that goes into this mission. And we hear that you get to do a test drive on Friday that everyone's really excited about. Tell us about that, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start. We certainly have various aspects of our training. We really kind of end up being the integrator of all of that training, especially once we get on board. But there are definitely different aspects to it. One is our International Space Station training. So we have a basic basic training in our systems of how the International Space Station works, and that includes all the way up to through emergency training as well, so that we are well prepared for any abnormalities that we hopefully don't expect. We also have training in various systems and equipment on the International Space Station as well. Some of that training involves the SSRMS, the Canadian robotic arm, that we are all trained in to use and operate as well. And included in the ISS training as well as our EVA, our extravehicular activity spacewalk training here at Johnson Space Center. We also train for our work on the Dragon, our operations in the Dragon at SpaceX in Hawthorne, California. That is kind of its own training flow as well. And then, of course, we have our training with our international partners. So with ESA, JAXA, CSA, Roscosmos as well. We all have training in each of those different segments as well. So we're familiar with that, both the equipment as well as those teams that are operating in those segments. So lots of different kinds of training that all come together on launch day and prepare us for the Dragon ride and then our time on ISS as well.
All right, the next question is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Yes, hi. I have a question for Josh, please. Quickly, when is your wife due to give birth? How far into your mission? And secondly, given your Ukrainian heritage, How stressful, if at all, has it been for you to launch it alongside a Russian? Do you avoid any mention of the war? How do you and Sergey put all that aside for the good of the space mission? And Sergey, please chime in too if you like. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. Good questions. The first one I'll have to check on you for the exact one, but it's about midway through. Pretty much perfect timing. That's sarcasm. And then the second question, very serious question, and the simplest way for me to start on an answer, and Sergey, you should jump in if you want. There's no issue, and you know, by the way, that's what I have consistently noticed in my career with the big world problems is that human to human, there's actually very seldom an issue. And so from my perspective, working astronaut to astronaut, engineer to engineer, technician to technician, there's no issue, especially in the space community. They're wonderfully talented people, and everyone is working towards the same end. And you know, that is in itself maybe one of the most important underlying reasons for why what we do in space right now is so important. So it has never affected our day-to-day operations. I don't think it ever would. Human to human, it's nothing but positive. But I like the question because I think it makes us think about bigger things. And when I think about the space station, I mean, there was a question earlier about legacy. I hope that's part of the legacy, is that people see this beacon in the sky going around Earth, one of the most complex things humans have ever created. And they see it for all of its technical marvel and all the science and discoveries we're making there. But they also see it as sort of this beacon, real time, for what we can do when we make good decisions, when we work together and we collaborate and we prioritize things. I mean, it's testament to what we've done, what we can do, and really to what we hope the generations that follow can do. So really serious question, but from our perspective here in Blue Suits, it's a positive question with a positive answer.
All right, next up is Robert Perlman with Collect Space.
Hi, for Luke or for anyone else on the crew who wants to take it, you're going to be launching on the first U.S. mission numbered 13 since Apollo 13, as your patch design recognizes and pays tribute. If you launch on your first opportunity, then you'll be docking at the ISS on the 13th of September, and your spacecraft Grace is Dragon serial number C213. Was there any talk about Triska, and I'm going to botch the name pronunciation of this, triskaidekaphobia, or the fear of the number 13 among the crew members, and are you taking any good luck charms along to counteract the superstition?
Well, Robert, interesting question there. So that has not, the numeral significance has not lost on us, and we definitely put some of that into our patch, some of the nuances there to kind of represent that legacy a little bit, the perseverance of Apollo 13. And also looking forward into what that number means for future missions even. So that is built into the significance a little bit for us as well. As far as good luck charms, I don't think we've explicitly talked about that a lot. It's come up maybe once or twice. We don't really see this as a degrader, but actually as a positive again for us, what could have been a really catastrophic mission that turned out to be really successful in a lot of ways. So for us, I think we're leveraging that heritage a bit, and we'll see if anything manifests that shows anything of good luck or anything like that for us in the future here.
Josh is our good luck charm.
Let's not see it.
All right, we're going to hop on over to social media for a quick question. Mira Lakes on Instagram asks, what is the most exciting or fun part of astronaut training?
I mean, spacewalk training is by far, for me, one of the most unique environments that we operate in. And as good as that training is, and as closely as that can mirror the environment we're going to be working in, you still have to put in a lot of homework and a lot of just thoughtfulness in how you operate in the pool when you're training in the neutral buoyancy lab. So as a non-spacewalker so far, I'll see how that has worked out, but to me, just that thought exercise of going through that training in the NBL and kind of extrapolating that to what it's going to be like on orbit has been a really fun experience.
All right, we are going to hand it back over to the Canadian Space Agency headquarters for a couple more questions there.
Hi, Sarah Levitt with CBC News. Question for Josh. The idea that the ISS is potentially or will be decommissioned, it's aging. How do you feel about the potential of you being the last Canadian astronaut on the ISS, considering the great Canadian history we've had with that space station?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. It's a good question. You know, just to put the facts out there right now, I think, I don't think Canada, with the United States, is committed to space station until 2030. And so my initial answer to you is that I hope I'm not the last. And I actually don't, right now, as I view the world, I don't think I will be the last. We're committed to 2030, and of course we'll see what happens, but there's certainly a world here, there's certainly an option space here where the space station continues. The end of space station is something that will no doubt happen someday, but we have to get the timing right, and I think that for us right now, we feel really, really fortunate to be involved with it at this transition time. You know, space station, during our expedition, I think will go past its 26 years, so that has cleared a quarter century now of operating, again, the most complex things humans have ever built in space in this extreme environment, mostly without issue. It's had a remarkably smooth track record. Canada's played an incredible role in that. But because of that work that Canada's done and NASA's done and the other partners have done, we have a machine, we have this laboratory that pays to us so many dividends in terms of scientific discovery, but that can continue going. And so we'll see where the policy ends up. But again, right now it's going to at least 2030, maybe farther. And to me, that's a really positive thing because it means that it's certainly at least possible that we do see more Canadians there. And as a Canadian going on this mission, nothing would please me more than to see that. Thank you.
Hello, Trevor Jeline, Plateau Astro. Another question for Joshua. Two people stole my question, so I got one in my back pocket here. I have your personal mission patch right here, and it has some symbolism. There's 3 stars right there, and I think that represents your wife and 2 kids. Are they going to be updating this mission patch, or is this like a collector's item patch that I should be holding on to? Thanks.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at my crewmates here. The stars have lots of different meaning, and we actually didn't write all the meanings in the description. We kept it quite vague deliberately because I think that's the kind of crew we are. You're right that one of those meanings from those stars was meant to represent my family, and you're right that that meaning is maybe not 100% accurate anymore. However, there were many other meanings in the stars. They represent elements of all of our families. One of the meanings that's tied to the CSA are the 3 stars that are on the CSA patch. So they do mean a lot of different things for different crew members. There was a lot of thought that went into them. I'm certainly grateful for my crew including the Canadian meanings to those stars. But there's a lot of meanings. One of them is my family, and yeah, with your collector's item comment, you're correct on that. Thanks.
Just a note that our crew patch actually has spot for a 4th star. Even though it was commissioned well in advance of the good news, there is a 4th star on the crew patch.
All right, we are going to go back on the phone bridge for a couple more questions. We have Richard Trubeau with the Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, thanks for taking the call. Let's put the focus on Luke here. I have Central Florida angled, but I want to also ask Luke's crewmate. His nickname is Mr. Reliable. Have you found that since he's been assigned as your crewmate? But for Luke, you started in school in Central Florida, Enterprise Elementary, and you seem really jazzed about a spacewalk. I want to know, is that like the pinnacle for you, or are you still also want to throw your hat in if they call on you for a moon mission? And those are my questions. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for the questions. You know, the spacewalk, yes, is a very exciting thing for me. Definitely won't be make or break for a mission. Just launching with a crew like this and working as an expedition on board, whatever gets thrown at us is going to be exciting and totally successful in my mind, no matter what the outcome is. So spacewalk, yes, that would be awesome, but not required if it's not in the cards for some reason. Moon mission, I think everybody at this table would say yes, yes to that. So I am no different from the rest of the crew when it comes to looking at future opportunities there. And then I think you had a third part embedded in there, question somewhere.
Yes, Mr. Reliable. I had not heard that, but it definitely tracks. We are super, super grateful to have Luke on the crew, and particularly for me to have Luke side by side next to me as my pilot. He absolutely is always backing me up, both technically and with the interpersonal side of our team skills, making sure that everybody has what they need to be as successful as they can. So I certainly appreciate everything that Florida put into Luke to make him who he is today.
We have another one on the phone bridge, Manuel Manzotti with Exploration Espacial.
Thank you so much. A question for Sergey. I would like to know if he's been preparing or if he's going to perform an EVA during this mission. And if that's the case, what would be the objectives of the spacewalk? Thank you.
Что касается ВКД, в Центре подготовки космонавтов я прошел подготовку, готов выполнить эту работу, если понадобится. Но по организации станции член экипажа Роскосмоса, который летит на корабле Crew-13, на корабле Crew вообще в общем, работу по ВКД выполнять не должен. Но полностью подготовку я прошел, если понадобится, работу выполнить я могу. Спасибо.
I have been trained to perform an EVA, and I'm ready to do one if needed. But in general, the disposition of Roscosmos is that a crew member flying on a Dragon vehicle, in my case that's me flying on Crew-13, is not supposed to perform an EVA. But I have the necessary training. Thank you.
We are going to go back to the room here with Will.
Thank you for another question. Also for Sergey. Can you talk about your road to becoming a cosmonaut? I know everyone that eventually ends up in space has a different path, whether you wanted to do that since you were a little kid or whether that came later in life. I wonder for you, how did you find your way to this, and was it sort of a circuitous path, or was it pretty much you knew you wanted to be a cosmonaut and you did all the things to get to that goal? Thank you.
Путь был прямой, но начался, скажем так, он в взрослом возрасте, уже я был зрелый на тот момент. В детстве я мечтал быть моряком, и моя судьба была связана с морем. Я закончил военно-морской институт, начал службу на Тихоокеанском флоте, в конечном итоге служил на подводной лодке. И бывает в организации нашей встреча с космонавтами. Эти моменты очень памятные для космонавтов и для подводников. И в конечном итоге в 30 лет я узнал о том, что можно стать космонавтом. Узнал о открытых наборах и попробовал свои силы в одном из наборов. И в 2021 году я приступил к подготовке по космической тематике. Скажу так, что я просто люблю работать, что это было на подводном флоте, что это сейчас в космонавтике. Я просто получаю от этого удовольствие. Спасибо.
My path was direct, I'd say, but it started later in life. As a kid, I wanted to be a seaman, I wanted to be a sailor. So I graduated from a naval academy. I served on the Pacific Fleet, on submarines, but in the course of my career at some point, I had a meeting with a cosmonaut, those are regularly held, and I was told that actually there is an open contest and one can try to become a cosmonaut, which I did when I was 30 years old. And that's how it all started, and I started my cosmonaut training in 2021. But for me, I just love to work, be it submarines, be it space, I just love to do some work. Thank you.
We're going to take another question here in the room. Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Howell from Canadian Geographic. This is also for Sergey. Do you mind sharing any fun training stories working with Josh?
Смешные моменты, может быть, и были, но я их как-то не запомнил. Скажу по подготовке, очень серьезно Джош относится ко всем шагам, которые мы выполняем. Очень помогает мне во всех наших действиях, потому что мы специалисты миссии, у нас есть определенный набор задач. И если где-то есть смешные моменты, ну, это, скорее всего, не во время подготовки, а в моменты, когда мы проводим время, скажем так, вечернее время или в наших поездках. Спасибо.
There may have been some funny moments. It's just that I cannot remember a single one of them right now. But I can say that Josh is extremely serious in everything he does in his training. Every step he makes, he takes he does it with utmost seriousness. And there are certain steps that we need to take as mission specialists. There are certain things that we need to do, and he helps me all the way in any action. And there may have been some funny scenarios, some funny moments, but not in training, but when we had free time together when we had dinners and individual time. Thank you.
I would say the exact same thing about Sergey, seriously.
We're going to take a quick question on social media. I'm Jim Full on Instagram asks, how do you prepare yourselves physically and mentally before a typical launch?
Yeah, good question. So I'll start with the physical training, the physical preparation side of things. We certainly have to maintain, good body health across the board in order to be ready for our mission on board the space station. We have to maintain our kind of physical readiness to do our EVA training. Is certainly very physically intensive. To manipulate the suit for long periods of time underwater is how we do most of our training. So for one, in order to complete the training, we have to maintain a certain level of physical readiness. And then there's a medical kind of health component where we also want to prepare our bodies for the challenging environment of space. We know that we will experience some potential bone loss, as well as some changes to our cardiovascular system on board. And Josh mentioned some of our countermeasures, some of our capabilities and equipment that we have on board the ISS to help combat some of that when we get on board. But starting with a clean bill of health and being as strong and healthy as we can heading into the mission helps us set the bar relatively high for when we get on orbit. In terms of mentally preparing, I think there are maybe two aspects that intertwine sometimes, but the technical kind of mental preparation for the mission is certainly something that we have all been going through together as a team, ensuring that each of those aspects of training that we talked about, that we are all absolutely competent and ready to participate in our particular roles. And then, of course, there's a more of a mental health and making sure that our support systems are mentally prepared as well, ensuring that our families have the support that they are going to need, that we have the support that we are going to need. We are supported by amazing teams of folks on the ground who help us stay connected to those support systems that we each have, and I think that helps us be prepared from a mental standpoint.
We're going to take another question here in the room in the back row.
Hi. Is there any particular skill that surprised you by becoming essential during training?
You want to take us? I can try and answer to that, and then we should hear from some others maybe. I get asked a lot, like what's the most important skill to being an astronaut? Should I study this or that, or should I be this or that? And for your question, the thing that I think I've noticed going through all this training is it's a pretty subtle skill. If I look at everyone in the astronaut office here in Houston, very different people from very different backgrounds. I'm a test pilot. There's some of those, but we have geologists, we have scientists, we have doctors, we have had a veterinarian. I mean, we have so many different people. But they all have one thing in common, and I think that's what I'd give as my answer. The common thing that they have is that they're just really easy to get along with. They're really skilled at integrating into new teams in different situations and just sort of being straight up the middle, not the flashiest person in the room, not a non-contributor, but a really good contributor to teams, really good at integrating with different people. I think that's maybe a not so often talked about, but very, very valuable skill that goes a long way in astronaut training.
Yeah, I'd say that skill with this crew was particularly, maybe that was the surprising piece, is just how quickly we integrated and gelled 9 times out of 10, if Jessica's thinking about something, I'm thinking about the same thing, and one of us might beat it to it, or Josh might bring it up, or Sergey. So I feel like throughout training, we're always synced up tightly in operations, and that may be surprising a little bit. Just maybe not every crew has that kind of almost collective one-brain style mentality.
We're going to go back on the phone bridge for another question, this time from David Curley with Full Throttle.
Jessica Watkins from a very humid D.C., Maryland, Virginia. You're a geologist who became an astronaut, and now you're slipping into the commander role. Can you just talk about the evolution of, coming into the program, going to space, years of training, and then you're in charge of this crew?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a privilege that I do not take lightly to have been able to make that transition through time. I think certainly when I think about the differences in the training flow from my first time around to this time, I think the first time I was a little bit more focused on myself as an individual contributor, ensuring that I had the skill sets and the capability to do my part and to ensure that what I was able to contribute was going to contribute to my crew's success. And I think now being in this role as commander and having flown once before, I think that experience has enabled me to take a bit of a step back and provided some bandwidth to be able to focus on my crew and really think about what my crew might need, anticipate what they might need, from a mission overview standpoint, but also just from a kind of just on a human level. Having had this experience and seeing what challenges both I and my previous crewmates faced, being able to try to preempt those as much as I can and prepare my crew for what I expect that they will experience as well, has really been a really neat challenge for me and a really fulfilling process to be able to step into.
We're going to take another quick question from social media, but as a reminder for those on the phone bridge, you can press *1 to enter the queue and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. And for those in the room, you can raise your hand if you have a question. Tatum Sigmund 34 on Instagram asks, have there been any situations that have really bonded you all? If so, how?
The first thought that entered my mind was pretty much every day. We spend a lot of time together right now, and it's been that way for the past several months. So I don't know that we could point to a single thing. We spend long hours every day in simulators and training vehicles all over the world. That's what we're coming off of. We travel together. Last time we went to Russia, we were sitting on the airplane together side by side for 16 hours. We spend a lot of time together. So we're, I think we're bonded by now, and I think most of us feel pretty good about that. Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that did feel like bonding for me anyway was the first time we walked into SpaceX together. I'd never been there, but it really felt real to me when we went into that factory for the first time. You see the rockets, you see their vehicles, and the experience becomes really real because you just start getting into this spaceship with your crewmates every day and starting their training flow. So I feel that we sort of came together a lot then, but there's probably other examples. I just think that we, if you spend every day, all day with people, you're going to bond with them.
All right, we have another question on the phone. We have Richard Trudeau with the Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, thanks for taking the second question. This is about Luke's class to fly and the announcement that Denise Burnham is going to maybe be the one to come up. I just want to know, you're kind of in the middle of the class in terms of getting to space. You're excited to see your classmates up there when you get there, and just what it's like being a member of that class and your contribution to NASA at this point. Thanks.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the class fly. No matter where you're at in the sequence, we're going to be meeting Anil up there. He's part of our class. Denise coming up right behind to replace him. Working closely with both of those two throughout astronaut training. it's really just satisfying, I think, to see everybody coming together and joining up on orbit at some level, taking all those years of training and putting them forward into, being good stewards of station, executing some science, doing some sustainability operations up there. I know just having talked recently to Denise, she's super excited about getting up there, and maybe I'm slightly hoping we get delayed a little bit so we have some overlaps so that way we can have 3 flies back to back kind of that have sequenced up there. We got that chain going with Chris Williams having just returned a couple weeks ago. So it is exciting seeing all the flies kind of working through their sequence of flights here.
We're going to take one final question on social media, and they ask, how would you describe the feeling of being part of a team that is so incredibly influential?
For me, it's definitely difficult to put into words, and I'm not sure exactly which team the poster is asking about. But for me, we are certainly a crew and a team in of ourselves, but we really are the representation of a huge team of people. Josh alluded to it at the beginning, but we are the tip of this spear, the kind of the head of the iceberg, the visible part of an incredible team of people that make spaceflight happen. We were asking about kind of one of the most surprising aspects of human spaceflight, and I think the amount of people that it takes to make it happen and do so seamlessly that it makes it look easy every time, that is such an incredible effort to represent and to be a part of. And so I'm just really grateful for that opportunity, and it is a true honor and a privilege.
And with that, we are going to go ahead and conclude today's news conference. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and go Crew 13.